Good afternoon, everybody. So we'll continue with the UCP 600 today also as well, and I intend finishing somehow, and I will discuss the differences or the similarities and the differences between back-to-back letter of credit and the transferable letter of credit. And before that, we'll focus on the Article 32. Article 32, installment drawing or shipments, right? So just fish out the Article 32. There are about 4 or 5 lines for that particular article. But before discussing that, we have to discuss about the form of special form of letter of credit called the revolving letter of credit. So we'll have an idea of what revolving letter of credit is first, and then we'll come into installment drawing and shipment. There's a little bit of a contravening linkage between revolving letter of credit and installment drawing and shipment. The reason why I want to discuss the revolving letter of credit first, right? Revolving letter of credit. Now, revolving letter of credit means that is you are allowing in the LC that you structure the letter of credit in such a manner so that the amount of the letter of credit will revolve on the amount or the same amount for number of times, right? So revolving is like that. It gets revolved. At one moment it gets inflated, and once the drawing being done, it gets depleted, and the LC automatically gets restated for the drawing amount, and the next LC goes through. Right. So we'll take a small example, or rather a scenario, and try to understand what a revolving LC is. At least the requirement of a revolving LC. Say a customer, referring to an importer, come to the bank, that is the issuing bank, and tells the banker, the import division or the import manager of the imports, that he intends opening letters of credit periodically for the same supply, for the same size of consignment, on a particular date every month. Say, value of the LC or the value of the consignment is $10,000. So he will say to the bank, I may have to open more than a couple of LCs this manner, or rather I may have to get down more than a couple of consignments from the same supplier for the same amount periodically on 1st Jan, 1st February, 1st March, like that it goes on. So we take about 5 months, 1st May. So $10,000, $10,000, $10,000, $10,000, 5 times. He will get goods from the supplier on a chosen supplier. So he comes to the bank. So the bank, there are 2 options actually available to the customer. So the bank will say, why don't you open a letter of credit for $50,000? Or actually he will wonder from the bank whether he could open a letter of credit for $50,000. Might understand? Right? And under condition of the letter of credit, he can say partial shipment allowed. Partial shipment allowed, meaning you needn't draw the 50,000 at once, but it could be partially drawn. It could be partially drawn. So the disadvantage of this is, even though that we say partial shipment allowed, that is not a restrictive clause, meaning supplier can supply for the full consignment. Even though that he's been liberalized to send part by part, we will not sure what is the size of the part that he will send. That cannot be restricted. And if suppose if we send the goods for the worth of $50,000, then the customer will have two tasks to fill. That is, the whole of 50,000 worth of goods, he will not have sufficient storage to keep the goods. Right? And the other one is, he's blocking $50,000 his capital unnecessarily. Right? So instead, there could be another solution, telling the customer, okay, if this is out, why don't you open 5 LCs? You open a LC to meet this requirement on a particular month, on a particular day, and likewise you open 5 LCs. Right? So that's a better idea. But then again, there will be another issue, a practical issue. Say that you have opened 2 LCs. So we'll take 2 LCs, one after the other. So we'll give a little time for the drawing to happen, and then we'll open the next LC. Right? Then, when the goods are received or the documents are received, we will not know to which LC that is being related if this LC is not expired yet. Also, there's another one, the similar problem of the earlier. There could be tendency that he will not ship the full consignment. So that for that offers you can say past shipment prohibited. Right? And the main factor is, so I will repeat again. Suppose that there are 5 LCs, one after the other, and if there's a suggestion for the customer to say not to open the LC for $50,000 straight away, instead you break the LC 5 times and send across. Then what happens? There will be a practical issue where the customer may have to bear a higher cost, because issuing a letter of credit is an expensive affair, right? There's a swift cost involved for each LC. It will cost the customer $23 to $25, and the commission, 1/4% of the commission, 1/4% of the LC value, the commission as commission. So there will be a cost involved in there that you might eat the profit of the customer. Right? And also, there could be tendency that the seller, the customer's customer, might not perform on a particular LC. So the bank will therefore, to cater this type of thing for multiple LCs for similar consignment, the bank will suggest a revolving letter of credit type. Revolving letter of credit type. Revolving letter of credit means, in the letter of credit, bank will put a special clause saying that this is a revolving LC. This is a revolving LC. This is a revolving LC. And revolves at 5 times. 5 times. Revolves at 5 times. And you open the LC not for $50,000. You open the LC only for $10,000. $10,000. So customer has to open the LC only for $10,000. The mechanism of the LC will revolve by itself 5 times. When the first drawing comes with the validity of the letter of credit, the outstanding of the letter of credit depletes to 0, right? Then the there will be another LC gets restated. Like that, 5 times get revolves. And also, it's a matter that you need to mention, how does it get revolved? How does it get revolved? Right? So revolving could happen by time or by value. Value. We call that as usage or as well. So revolving this, it could revolve by time or by value. If the LC is to be meant to revolve by time, then it has been further mentioned whether drawings could be cumulative or uncumulative. The drawing could be cumulative or uncumulative. So revolving LCs are 2 types. Could be either by time or by value to revolve. If it is by time, then you have to further mention whether it's cumulative or uncumulative. So those factors have to be put in this special clause. This is a revolving LC, revolving 5 times, cumulative, or say non-cumulative. So to understand what is cumulative and non-cumulative, I'll take a timeline like this. First January, there's a shipment, and the 1st February, there's a shipment. And 1st March, there's a shipment. Now this is a revolving LC and revolves by time. If the supplier misses, for some reason, misses the second shipment, and if the LC is cumulative, he can add the missed shipment to the 3rd shipment. Say the quantity of the shipment is 10 metric tons each. Then if he misses this, he can ship for 20 metric tons. That will be possible if the LCC is cumulative. If the LCC is non-cumulative, then this 10 metric tons which shall be missed cannot be included in the March 1. So this is totally missed. But the March, April, May, June, like that, it continues. Right? So that's the revolving type of letter of credit in case of time. Banks do not encourage that much of the value type, but I will tell you what the value type is. You know, the LC will have an expiry date at all times. Say, for instance, that we open LC in January 1st, and if the LC is expiring in 1st April, right? That's a 3-month period there. And if this particular LC is revolving against usage or by value, then the customer can draw, say the value of the LC is $100,000. Then the customer can draw. Draw means he can draw his bill of exchange and of accompanying documents and send across the ship bank multiple times. But within the validity of the LC, he can't draw a presentation. He cannot draw a drawing and present the documents after the expiry of the letter of credit. So he can draw multiple times. Why this is not attractive to the bank or bank is reluctant to take it? Remember, letter of credit means is a financial facility given by the banker for importers. So therefore, bank should be able to assess the exposure of the banks and with the customer's creditworthiness at any given time. But when the LC allows to draw him multiple times within the validity, bank will not be able to assess. So bank has to wait until documents to come to see what the exposure is. The reason why this type of revolving SC are not that attractive, or banks are a bit reluctant to facilitate. Right. Now you remember the revolving SC, the main ingredient of this particular revolving SC I discussed is, if you miss the particular shipment, depending on the LC, you can either cumulate the missed shipment or you can forget about it, and if he says non-cumulative. Right? In practically what happens, if a particular shipment is missed, that will be added to the next shipment. Added to the next shipment. Right. So that is revolving letter of credit. In my early handouts, I have given a small passage referring to revolving SC. Please do read that and understand. And you may have scribbled this source as well. The time and the value and cumulative, non-cumulative. You try to make a fine note of it after that. Now we are coming to Article 32. Article 32. Right. Article 32 says, it's just a 4-line letter of credit I read out. If a drawing or shipment by installments, within given period, not a particular specific time, but a period, is stipulated in the letter of credit called a shipment schedule, right? Stipulated in the credit. And any installment is not drawn or shipped within the period allowed for that installment, the credit ceases to be available for that and any subsequent installment. So the UCP Article 32 says, if there is a shipment schedule for a particular period, within period, say, no, I'm not taking a January 1st. I will say within January, this particular shipment should come. Within February, this particular shipment should come, or it could be from January to February 15, or January to end of February. Like that, you can have a period. So January, February, March, like that. And Article 32 says very categorically that if the one particular shipment is missed, if this missed, the suppliers fail to ship that particular shipment, credit ceases the validity. From here, there's no LC. You can't talk about LC. And not only that, the subsequent shipments also become invalid. So now you see, when there's a misshipment, there's no further proceedings in there. That's a deadlock. So therefore, when you entertain a letter of, this is for the practitioner, I'm saying if there's any at least, if there's a revolving letter of credit being required, or revolving letter of credit if you are structuring for the customer, make sure that you exclude from the text Article 32. Otherwise, it gets contradicted. Because the article revolving LC talks about a matter with regard to cumulative. Now, the cumulative part is not here. Right? And it says non-cumulative also as well. Non-cumulative means this shipment is missed, but other shipments are getting enforced. But the Article 32 says, if one particular shipment is missed, the subsequent shipments become invalidated and the credit also ceases in validity. Right. Hope you understood that. So you need to read the Article 32 and the revolving LC text that I have given in the handout with the small explanation that I have given together. Right? Right. Back to back letter of credit. right? I have given a handout to you regarding transferable letter of credit and back-to-back letter of credit. Good if you can fish out that particular the handout. More than a handout, is a grid actually that I have given. I did a little bit of illustration with regard to back-to-back credit, but I will do in detail now. So that will be a good place for me to go for the transferable letter of credit also as well. Right. So a back-to-back letter of credit, back-to-back means one LC is backing the other LC. There's a big LC called the master LC, backing the round LC or the baby LC. That's what we call back-to-back. Right. So we have a buyer. Then we have a buyer. Then we have a is that actually the applicant. Right. So from beneficiary, that's the supplier. There's an order. So the buyer has given an order for the beneficiary. That order comes to an letter of credit form, and so he goes to his banker. The buyer goes to his banker, that's the issuing bank. And requests the bank to open letter of credit. That particular letter of credit is a master letter of credit favoring beneficiary. Favoring beneficiary. So this LC will be advised to an advising bank. Now, who chooses the advising bank? The issuing bank will choose the advising bank. So sometimes the advising bank, details of the advising bank given by the suppliers or the beneficiaries pro forma invoice. So the bank will, figure out that maybe the bank that the beneficiary deals with and try to send the LC to that particular bank. If this particular issuing bank has some corresponding relationships, we call the BKE arrangement, BKE arrangements or testing arrangements normally. You call that as, or you can say corresponding arrangements. So therefore, this particular advising bank has some relationship with the issuing bank. So therefore, they are seeking assistance from that particular advising bank to advise the letter of credit to the beneficiary, Right. Master LC. Master LC. We'll put a value here, US dollars 100,000. So the issuing bank, at the request of the applicant, has sent across the letter of credit via the advising bank to reach the beneficiary, $100,000 worth of LC. Now the beneficiary has to perform. That is one of the responsibilities the beneficiary has over the applicant. And the issuing bank also will extend the guarantee to the beneficiary that the issuing bank will honor provided this performance. Right? And the bank is more concerned out of its performances to stipulate what you call fulfill the terms and conditions of the letter of credit and send across a compliance set of documents. So if the beneficiary can do that, the issuing bank will honor. You know the meaning of honor by now. Right. Now the beneficiary has in his hand export LC. He has in his hand an export LC favoring to him $100,000 worth of an LC. This is an import LC. When he receives, it becomes export LC to him, right? That's why I said it's an export LC to him. So now it's a good money. But only thing, so we'll put an item also so that we could understand properly. We'll say $100,000 worth of LC for 100,000 numbers of shares. So the shirts type and the color and everything will be stated. So in short, we will say the shirts. Right. And in the AC, they have they have stipulated the latest shipment date and expiry date, and everything we have been stated. Right. So basically, finds now out of this 100,000, he has a shortfall. He is unable to manufacture to satisfy the stipulated period to the letter of credit. 20,000 worth of shirts. 20,000 numbers of shares is equal to $20,000. Now he don't want to tell that to this issue bank or not to the applicant. Then he will get exposed of the size of the consignment. So what he will do is he will import or buy locally. He will import the 20,000 worth of shares, which is short. Right? Now remember here, he has to import the same goods. He can't, buy the fabric or the raw materials, fabric, yarn, and what you call this shirt button and everything, and stitch the shirt in there, even though that he had the capacity of doing that. What he has to do is he has to bring down the same stuff from elsewhere, and now he has already 8,000 and consolidated with this and sent across the issue bank to the issue bank's country, to the importer's country. So for that, he has to go to his bank now. He has to go to his bank, right? He has to go to his banker. Now he's going as a face of an importer. Now he's the exporter who has the comfort of $100,000 export LC with him. He goes with that document to his banker, right? To his banker, and request his banker to open a letter of credit to bring down the shortfall of 20,000 shirts from a different supplier. Right? So this particular issuing bank will advise the LC through their advising bank again, the same routine, same manner, but in a different routine, advising bank. And send the LC cross to supplier. And he will say, I want this 20,000 numbers of shirts. Without saying $20,000, he will say for $80,000. For $80,000. Now, what is this LC? This is the count LC, right? Count LC. Count LC or the baby LC worth of $80,000. Now the supplier, the supplier of the baby LC or the count LC will perform according to the $18,000 LC and send the documents across to this particular issuing bank. And if the documents are compliant, we'll have a presumption that the documents are compliant, right? Then the issuing bank will release the documents to this customer. Now he's not the beneficiary, he's an importer for this particular LC, that is to the baby LC. And the importer goes and clear the consignment free of payment. The bank has advanced it because the bank knows, bank takes risks actually. Bank knows that if we allow the customer to take the 20,000 shares, he will consolidate that with the 8,000 what he has in the stock, and he will perform with the master AC. And once he does that, he will get a what you call get a solid $100,000 as export proceeds, right? Understand? So then the issue bank has released the documents. So this importer has cleared the consignment and consolidated the goods, consolidated the shares. Now, when the supplier sends the goods across to the issue bank, he may have drawn his own invoices also for 80,000. So when the documents are presented in here, this importer will substitute with his invoices, his own invoices, for a markup value. Now it's 20,000 markup value, and send the documents across to this issuing bank. Actually, this beneficiary doesn't submit the documents to the issuing bank. It will go to his negotiating bank. I have put properly in the grid here. He will give the documents to his bank called the negotiating bank. I'll repeat that again. I'll repeat that part a little bit again. Otherwise, he will get confused. Now, this beneficiary, he has become the importer for that particular BABSC. Now, he has got a set of documents for $80,000 from a supplier, from a different supplier, and he has to substitute his invoices for 20,000. Now, he will mark up and substitute his own invoices and give the documents to his bank. Give the documents to his bank, right? So, if this is the bank, if that was the bank that it was invoiced the LC to the beneficiary, and if the beneficiary has relationship with the invoicing bank, meaning he can give the documents, that is for 80 plus 20. For this bank to negotiate. Now this bank becomes a negotiating bank. Negotiating bank. Right? And the bank negotiates the documents now. And send the documents across the issue bank. So that's how the issue bank gets the documents actually. It's not that beneficiary sends the documents straight away to the issue bank, but we can send, right? UCP provides that provision, but usually what happens, beneficiary needs the money quickly, so that they will give the documents to his bank for them to negotiate. So once he negotiates, he will send the issue bank for that $18,000 and 2,000 is markup, right? And once the issuing bank, this particular issuing bank for the master, he gets the document, he will summon the applicant and demand for the payment and release the documents to the applicant. And before doing so, if the documents are in order at the issuing bank counter, they will reimburse the negotiating bank. Right? So that's what we call a back-to-back letter of credit. Back-to-back letter of credit. Now you are supposed to read the grid. I put the grid in a very neater form here. Understand what you call the numerical order here, and related to numerical order for the bullets, I have given the explanation. So read and understand very well, and see the mechanism of it. That's a little bit of the exposure. Why the bank should be very cautious when you're handling a letter of credit, especially a back-to-back letter of credit. Now, when a letter of credit comes, the back-to-back letter of credit means the what you call the special form of letter of credit. So this issued bank, when they open a letter of credit for $80,000 in this particular example, they rely on the customer saying that he has a export LC for 100,000. So the issuing bank will grab that letter of credit, the export LC where the customer is having, and keep it under lien, and send this what you call the LC, and release the documents for the free of payment, taking into consideration that particular export is the prime security. So once the documents are released to the beneficiary or to the applicant of this particular LC, bank expects the customer to perform and satisfy the master LC. If the beneficiary of that particular master LC, after getting the documents and after clearing the consignment, if he does not perform on the master LC, this issuing bank's exposure will remain. They will not be able to recover. So therefore, the bank has to analyze properly the reason why, when there's a request for a back-to-back letter of credit, you need to refer to some sort of expert opinions, get expert opinions before the opening back-to-back letter of credit in the counter level itself. Those are complex LCs. Right. So we'll move on to transferable letter of credit now. Before that, I can see few people have come to the forum today, and anybody, one or two people, if you have the what you call the past paper of March 2018, just put a comment here that you have, so that I can start one or two questions in there, if time permits, after doing the transferable letter of credit. Right. Anybody having the 2018 March paper, March 2018 paper, just make a comment that you have it, or just say yes. Then I can count the number of people who has the paper and take a decision whether I'm going to do a question or two. And if all you are silent, then I have no point doing the past paper, because he will not have the question, right? Right. Transferable letter of credit. Transferable letter of credit. Right. Take down a small note. When the beneficiary is unable to ship the goods, the flow of the transferable letter of credit, referring to the explanation, gives a little bit of a similarity with the what you call in the back-to-back letter of credit also as well. One more thing I forgot to tell you about the back-to-back. I think I just mentioned. Right, one person has yes, I do have the paper. Right. Just tell me, or through the forum, Asita, how did you get the paper? You requested. How did you request the paper, the past paper? If you want, you can just enlighten me. Actually, I told them to upload the past paper that March 2018 and September 19. I do not know whether they have done it.
I earlier purchased that, sir.
You have already purchased that, right?
Yeah.
So, right. Thank you so much. So, I will tell you, if anybody else also have this paper, let me know. At least 2 or 3. Otherwise, no point. It's not fair by others if I do the paper. If I am unable to do the paper today, I will request the college me to have, sir, that is with my right. I will request the college to at least upload the past paper that I needed so that you can get it printed. So you don't purchasing it, no, right? So as of now, only two students only have got, right. Thank you for the feedback of yours. Now, transferable letter of credit exists where the exporter or the beneficiary cannot ship the goods. When I say ship the goods means not the required quantity, something like the back-to-back cost as well, right? But I want to tell you with regard to back-to-back, I told you that I missed something. In the back-to-back letter of credit, you remember the master LC for the shares? Right. Master LC for the shares, I think I told you this. Master LC for 100,000, right? Then we had a shortfall of 20,000 numbers and we opened the LC for $80,000. That's the baby LC. Right? So this master LC and the baby LC that you have to take it down, right? And this particular ingredient that they will specifically look into it whether you have noted. This master LC and the baby LC has to be mirrored. Otherwise, there will be discrepancies. When you substitute invoices, there will be discrepancies. Right? One example for mirroring is now if you order the shortfall of 20,000 shares, instead, if you order the raw materials and try to manufacture and then put across, then you get the document from this particular supplier as raw material. So you can substitute those invoices. So therefore, this has to be mirrored, right? So you have to, so when you get a back-to-back letter of credit, especially to export at the export counters, you need to check. You have to give extreme care to check documents according to the baby LC and the master LC, right? So that element of risk is not there in case of a what you call the transferable letter of credit. Right. Transferable letter of credit. Now, when I explain, it gives a little bit of outward appearance as if that I'm actually repeating the same thing of back to back. There's a little bit of a difference. Try to understand. Say, the seller gets an order for 100,000. For 100,000. Numbers of shares for $100,000. So this is the beneficiary. Now he is unable to ship the goods, or the whole shipment or party. He can't meet these 100,000 numbers. So like in the back to back, he also will find some more suppliers and try to get those shortfall. Right? So he will request the applicant at the first outset. Actually, it's not the applicant now, it's the buyer before coming to the bank. After coming to the bank, only the buyer becomes the applicant. So the seller has touched with the buyer and may have told him to open a transferable letter of credit. In the case of back-to-back case, there is nothing like that. Beneficiary cannot tell the applicant to open a back-to-back letter of credit. Right? The transfer letter of credit is a different type of letter of credit. It's a special form. So the applicant will go to his banker. Now you know what the bank is, the issuing bank. And request the bank to open a transferable letter of credit, TFS, for $100,000 worth of 100,000 numbers of shares. Now this is a TFS. The SWIFT format of this is also MT700. But it's a transferable drop credit. In the LC application itself, on the top, on the foremost top, you have a type of a drop credit. Then you say the transferable drop credit. So when you look at this here, the first class, you know it's a transferable drop credit. So this will reach to a bank. You know what the bank is, advising bank. Now the advising bank's role in here is slightly different. In this case, the issuing bank requests the advising bank, it is not the advising bank, surely that particular bank, to transfer the LC. Transfer the LC. Right? And the advising bank knows when you get the transferable of credit, it is not just a mere advising, it's a transferable of credit. So once the advising bank summons the beneficiary, basically calls over in person, and request the advising bank to transfer the letter of credit to another beneficiary. So we'll say beneficiary 2. So therefore, this beneficiary becomes beneficiary 1. So for another beneficiary or another beneficiaries 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that. Right? So we take 2 beneficiaries here. So advising bank will transfer the LC to the beneficiary 2. Now this advising bank has become a transferring bank. Transferring bank. So they have transferred the drop credit to beneficiary 2, and on whose request they are doing that, this mechanism itself is a transfer of credit. Therefore, it's been authorized. How to transfer? That will be given by the instructions being given by the beneficiary 1. Beneficiary 1. So beneficiary 1 will give a what do you call a transferable request. Transferable request. Now this up to this point is a transferable LC. Once you transfer to the second beneficiary, it becomes a transferred LC. So beneficiary will tell how to transfer. For that, they have this banks will have a ready-made application form for transferable letter of credit, right? So therefore, that is to avoid jargon. So therefore, the beneficiary will fill the form, and according to that request, the advising bank, now the transferring bank, will advise the transferred LC to the beneficiary 2. Now, when the beneficiary 1 advises the advising bank to transfer, he has to maintain the fact that the particular LC is an irrevocable letter of credit. At his own will, he can't change the letter of credit without consent of the issuing bank, because it's the issuing bank's property. So therefore, but however, saying that Article 38 and sub-article G provides that the beneficiary can make a request to amend the letter of credit, without getting the concurrence from the issuing bank's consent. Right? So we need to find out what are the actually there could be, you can do 6 amendments. 6 amendments. Right? Right. So beneficiary will tell the advising bank, if he wishes so, yeah, tell the advising bank before transferring, this is how you have to transfer. So that aspect, the beneficiary 1 need not get approval from the issuing bank. That is the beauty of the transfer of credit mechanism. Right. So he can request the advising bank, now the transferring bank, to reduce the amount. Reduce the amount. Don't advise the LC as 100,000. You just say 99,000. 99. And this particular LC, for any LC for that matter, you have a period called a presentation period. Presentation period. Right? Presentation period. That is from the date of shipment. What is the period that the beneficiary has? That's called the grace period to rush to his banker for negotiation. That who specifies that period? The issuing bank specifies that period. 15 days or 20 days or 10 days like that. Right? You don't quote 30 days or 45 days for the presentation period. Right? That is not healthy. So bank will give a sufficient time for the beneficiary. After shipping the goods, he will get the bill of lading. So one document is he has got one document, that's the bill of lading. Other documents he can prepare before shipment. Right? So he has to rush after having the bill of lading to his bank for negotiation, not as his bill. So that's what we call the presentation period. That period could be curtailed in the case of a transfer letter of credit at the request of the first beneficiary. So the presentation period could be curtailed. Right? And you can advance the shipment date. LC would have stated the latest shipment date as 31st December. Beneficiary 1 will tell the transfer bank, don't say 31st December. I have to ship before 31st December. Therefore, you have to tell the beneficiary 2 as 10 December. So I will have ample of time then to send across the goods to the issuing bank's country. So they can curtail the latest shipment date. Curtail. Likewise, he can request the banker, to the transferring bank, to curtail the expiry date also as well. So that when the documents come by the second beneficiary, he will not face for a possible discrepancy called late presentation. So expiry date could be curtailed. 5. If there's a unit price we stated, in here in the letter of credit, such unit price could be reduced. So unit price could be reduced. I put it down there over there. If you are taking down, write it properly. So amount of the LC could be reduced. Unit price will be stated could be reduced. Presentation period, latest shipment date, and the expiry date could be curtailed. Now these are amendments. These are amendments to this particular LC. This amendment is going as a transfer letter of credit. So you can't modify the letter of credit of the original text and send across the beneficiary too. But there's an exception given for transferable letter of credit. For any other letter of credit, you can't do that. Right? Chanak, I noted that. You also have the past paper, no? Right. So 38G, that is the sub-article 38G. You have to read over and over again the 38G article because that is a very, very fancy article that most of the examiners, I don't know for why reason, they see that particular article only in Article 38. Right? So you get thorough yourself, don't mind here. Thorough yourself, Article 32, a big article. This is the crux of the article. And if you know this, you can answer any question. There are a little bit further more to discuss. Right. I tell again, so there are 5 items. 5 items. You should know what the 5 are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 items could be reduced or curtailed. Right. Now there's another amendment could be done under Article 38G in the transfer letter of credit. Now, the beneficiary too is not aware of the original status of the trust bill. He will see this particular transfer LC only. Like this one, he will get the LC for 99K. Right? Right. So there's another amendment, the beneficiary 1. First beneficiary, you call the first beneficiary actually. First beneficiary can request from his bank at the transferring bank. That is now see, try to understand that little bit of a thinking involved in there. Now, we have reduced the amount. For 100,000, 99,000, value will be reduced. Now, reduction of the value is not a must. Beneficiary 1 can transfer it back. You advise LC as it is. Or we use zero. If he doesn't want to have a markup, he can tell his bank to advise LC the same manner. But he can't tell the bank to increase the LC. You can't tell the transfer bank to enhance the rate of credit and mark up the rate of interest across. That is possible. Article 6 is going to reduce. He may reduce. Right. So we'll take a stance where that he has reduced the amount. And we'll see, we'll assume that particular LC will open under Incoterm CIF. Now you know what Incoterm CIF stands for, cost insurance and freight. So that means in this particular LC, suppliers cover the insurers. Suppliers ought to cover the insurers. Who is the supplier in this case? Beneficiary 1. Not the beneficiary 2. Issuing bank is not concerned about the second beneficiaries. But no sooner that the beneficiary 1 requests the applicant to open a transferable letter of credit, they are aware that there are more than one beneficiary. So the main ingredient of a transfer letter of credit is you should have more than one beneficiaries. So issue bank is aware, but they don't know who the second beneficiaries are. Right. So the issue bank in this particular text, they may have asked for 10% markup on the invoice value or the drawing value. So if they see for 100,000, if the premium is 10,000, then the amount to be issued or issued by the insurance company and the insurance policy should be obtained by the supplier for $110,000. So the insurance company will cover the insurance for $110,000. Right. Now, since this particular transfer LC has reduced the amount, the beneficiary 1 will tell the transferring bank in this text, in this transferred LC, I will say here, transferred LC. Get the abbreviation properly. Transferred, TFR, first to be D. This is a transferred LC. This is a transferable LC. Transferable LC, this is being transferred. With this transferred, with these 5 amendments, now the 6th amendment only I am talking of. In the 6th amendment, it's related to the reduction of the amount. Right? It has been reduced by $1,000. $1,000. So original LC was $100,000, and the insurance to be obtained 10% markup, that means for 110%, and the value, the amount issued or the insured amount has to be, or the insurance policy has to be taken for US dollars, $10,000. Right? Now this cannot be changed. This cannot be changed. Now, so when the beneficiary 1 tells them to cover the insurance for the very second beneficiary, he has to make sure that he will get the policy for 110,000. Otherwise, the issue bank will cite as a discrepancy. So therefore, in this particular 6th amendment, beneficiary 1 will request the transferring bank to indicate the percent term of the premium to increase. It was 10% originally, 10% plus CIF value. CIF value plus 10%, that is 100,000 plus 10% is 110. That's how it came. Right. So the second message will tell to have this 110,000 policy, if the CI value is reduced, this has to be increased. If the CI value is 100,000, this is 10%. Then only it comes to 110%. If the CI value is dropped now because of this particular amendment, reduce the amount, then to have the static of 110,000, you have to increase the percent. So that is the sixth amendment. You will inform the transferring bank to increase the percent in such a manner so that it will match the assured sum. Right. Increase the percent term of the premium. Right. That is number 6. Actually, there are 7 amendments. That's another amendment. That's another amendment. Now, this is the transferred letter of credit. Who is the beneficiary? If the transferred letter of credit, beneficiary should be beneficiary 2. If the transferred letter of credit, applicant should be beneficiary 1, not this applicant. So, beneficiary 1 will tell the transferring bank, you replace the applicant's name by my name, that is beneficiary 1. And the beneficiary 1's name as beneficiary 2. Right? Replace the applicant and the beneficiary of the original LC by beneficiary 1 and beneficiary 2 respectively. Then the beneficiary 2, when they get the LC, they will, the beneficiary 2 will not know a clue of the issue bank and applicant. Right? Right. Now the amendments are all right. Now you are thoroughly advising you to go to the 38G and 30G and get to know all these 5 amendments, which means related to reduction and for curtailing. Then the 6th amendment, which regard insurance policy, increase of the premium because of reduction of the value, and then replacing of the applicant as the beneficiary's name of the transferable letter of credit. Right. Right. Now the applicant has opened a letter of credit through the issuing bank for, that is the transfer letter of credit for 100,000 that we transfer to the second beneficiary. Transferred to the second beneficiary. This is a transferred letter of credit. Now remember, you have to take a note, side note of it. Now this is a transferable letter of credit. From here, the is getting transferred. From here, the is getting transferred to the second beneficiary or to the beneficiaries. But that doesn't mean there are 2 LCs here. There's only 1 LC. In the back-to-back LC, there are 2 types of letters of credit. 2 separate entities of letters of credit. The master LC and the count LC or the baby LC, right? In here, there's only 1 LC. There's only 1 LC. Here, there's a little bit of a jugglery. In other words, there's a small amendment. As per recorders, it is not a hoodwinking, it's actually a hoodwinking order, but legally, because Article 38G provides the provision for that. But there's only 1 issue. So it's a very apparent difference between a back-to-back and a transferable. In a transfer letter of credit, you will not have master LC or the count LC or baby LC, and there are 2 separate LCs. But in case of transferable letter, in the back-to-back LC, there are 2 separate LCs. But in a transfer letter of credit, there is only 1 letter of credit. 1 letter of credit. Right. So the transfer bank has transferred the letter of credit as per the request of the first beneficiary, and it's transferred LC format. It's a Swift format again. It's MT 720. This will be actually advised to an advising bank, or they will inform the beneficiary to come and collect the LC for the transferring bank itself. Either way. Form 720. Form 720, this is transfer letter of credit. This is not a different type. It's a 700 LC, 720 transferable letter of credit. Transfer letter of credit. Right. Now, when he has the transfer letter of credit for $99,000, now he has to perform. He has to perform. Right? So once he performs, he has to send the cross, put the cross, and send the documents not there to the transferring bank. Now that's the disadvantage or a practical difficulty for the beneficiary who is concerned because they have to submit to the transferring bank, not to his banker for his comfort. Right? Transferring bank. So when the documents are down, the documents are value of documents are $98,000, right? So when the documents are presented to the transferring bank, they will summon the first beneficiary and request them to substitute his own invoices. The substituting of invoices coming in on top of trade, back to back, and transferable letter of credit. So then on first demand, the beneficiary one should call over and he should substitute these invoices. Right? So he comes along with the 100,000 invoices. And he will substitute this. Right? Substitute this. And this transferring bank, now it has become a negotiating bank. Negotiating bank. So they will negotiate the document and pay beneficiary to $99,000. $99,000. And $1,000 is the first beneficiary. And send the documents to the issuing bank. Value of the documents is what? 100,000. Now because it is substituted. And the issuing bank will reimburse $100,000 to the negotiating bank. So that is the mechanism of the transferable letter of credit. It's a very complex, I know. Practically, it's extremely difficult to handle, but this is the mechanism. Once you know the mechanism and get the idea and the specific provisions, the articles, then it's not a very what you call cumbersome thing to understand. Right. There's a small catch in here. Now I told you, once the documents are submitted by the second beneficiary to the transferring bank, the transferring bank will summon the first beneficiary to his invoices, to present the invoices and to substitute the second beneficiary's invoices. If it doesn't come on first demand, it doesn't call on first demand, or if there are any discrepancies, but now he has to come and forward documents to, and when he substitutes, if they carry discrepancies, then negotiating bank won't be able to negotiate. No? So the negotiating bank will send across to the issuing bank the documents of second beneficiaries without further what you call having any liability or responsibility towards the first beneficiary. When they call the first beneficiary, if it doesn't come on first demand, negotiating bank has all the right. It was the invoicing bank and it became the transferring bank. Now it is the negotiating bank. They have all the right to send the second beneficiary documents to the issuing bank. So issuing bank now will pay only $90,000 and then the applicant will get to the second beneficiary details also as well. So first beneficiary has to be very careful on that. So on first demand, they have to call over there, and also when he gives the documents to satisfy this particular LC, those documents should not carry discrepancy. right? That is 38I. So my advice to you is read the article 38G, 38H, and 38I along with my grid. That will be more than enough for you to what you call understand the transferable electrofilling mechanism. Right. Now take down in nutshell form. So 3 people have past papers, right? 4 people: Asita Rajapaksha, Ridma, and Chanagar. Somebody else said they have. So 4. So I should be able to do a question or two, no? Right. So then I will discuss the advantages and the disadvantages of transferable rate of credit next Sunday. That is the only part. The UCP is all right now. So from next week, so we will have how many weeks? We are on the 20th today. 20th, 27th. So we have 1 more week. Very likely we will have October 4th also as well. So we have 2 weekends. So we'll try to do the past papers at that time then. Right. No, it's 2:15, right? It's 2:15, right? I'll keep half an hour and then start the past paper. Now we take it quickly. The advantages and disadvantages of transferable letter of credit. Advantages. It helps to build trust. Actually, now the issuing bank and the applicant is aware that this particular AC is going to perform not by their customer, by somebody else, but they are trusting the first beneficiary, right? So that's why I'm putting in a different way. It helps to build trust. Among the commercial parties involved. A middleman who has very good contacts with both buyers and suppliers are able to deliver value to both parties. Now see, the first beneficiary actually acting as a middleman. He does sweet nothing, right? If he wants, he can partly perform. But in this case, the example that I took it, he doesn't ship the single, manufacture single number of shirt. He got an order for 100,000. He got the same order from a different supplier for a cheaper price, right? Transfer credits provide a bank guarantee. It's not a bank guarantee, actually, it's like a guarantee, right? Provides a bank guarantee to suppliers. So thereby limiting the risks of the, and thereby limiting the credit risks of the buyer. Credit risks of the buyer. Disadvantage. Now, this is a common disadvantage, and many people who involved in the what do you call this trade will not understand the implications and the mechanism of the transferable letter of credit, right? Even for us, it's difficult to understand the grid properly, right? So you have to tell that also. So suppliers may not be conversant. The suppliers may not be conversant. With documentation. Bank charges may have to be incurred. Bank charges will have to be incurred. By the parties concerned. But this type of transaction will have a lead or some kind of a temptation for fraudsters, because you get unseen beneficiaries. So there could be a lot of fraudulent activity. Possibility of fraudulent activity might take place. So we put that also. A possibility of documentary fraud. We are worried about documents only, no? So we say documentary frauds. The possibility of documentary frauds. Being perpetrated by the suppliers. Right. So this is a good comprehensive handout where I have got a few ingredients from textbooks. So make sure that you read carefully and try to understand mainly the differences between the back-to-back and the also the topics. I have put it down in here. You also can check on your own when there are any discrepancies, any what you call differences between back-to-back and transfer of credit after going through the grades, right? Right. So in the rush, anybody else have the paper? Out of few people who are in the forum today, I get the least people today. Of course, last Sunday, of course, I had a few. More of this today, I can see only 11 people have joined. So anybody else other than Asita, Ritma, and Chanaka, there was somebody else also said that he has the paper. Other than that, anybody else has the paper? Right. So I will go ahead with the paper, at least the MCQs. So I have a little more than half an hour. And I will give the question number and the listing, but make sure that the people who do not have the paper will have the required papers next time when you are coming, because I intend doing the past papers next week course as well. Right. First question, this is March 2018. First question. That's the MCQ question. Right. A traditional bill of lading has three main characteristics. Which of the following is not one of these characteristics? Right? A traditional bill of lading has three main characteristics. Which of the following is not one of these characteristics? right? So you remember, bill of lading has three main functions. It does evidence the receipt of goods. It does evidence a contract of carriage. It is a document of title to the goods, and some instances it acts as a not as a fully negotiable register. What you say? It acts as a quasi negotiable instrument. You remember the word quasi, QUASI, right? So those are the things. So when you read the question, you should have the knowledge, and before looking at the answer, right? It is a receipt for the goods. It's right. It is evidence of the correct contract of carriage. It's right. It is issued in three originals. If there's a practitioner in here, is there any trade practitioner in here today in the forum? Just say yes. Yes or no? Right. It is issued in three originals. Fine. That's also right. It is a document of title to the goods. It is right. So there's no any practitioner. No? If there's a practitioner, of course, they might he or she will have the answer wrong here. Usually in practice, we know in a full set, that is in a bill of lading set, there are three originals all the time. Three originals, right? But it is not a main function of a bill of lading. It is not a main function of a bill of lading. So what is not right is it is issued in three originals. It is not necessary that the bill of lading should issue in three originals. But if there is a practitioner, he will see when he's look at a bill of lading in a desk while he's working, if he sees two copies of the bill of lading, then he will search where the other one is. So that's how the practice goes. Right. Which of the following is not required to specified in the collection instruction in terms of 20B of URC 522 in relation to the collection of interest? So subarticle 20B says, if the interest to be collected, the collection instruction should specifically state the rate of interest, the period of interest to be calculated, and the basis of calculation. That's what Article 20, subarticle 20B states. So you make a the way they have already stated that in the question saying that Article 20B. So your duty is to not to find the answer in here, but to refer to the particular article and try to figure out it. So I have already done that now. So we go to the answers A, B, C, D. Rate of interest, yes, it be stated. Interest period, yes. Principal amount not be stated in the base of calculation, has to be stated. So principal amount is the correct answer. Right. The guarantee question I'm skipping for the moment. We'll have a very short session next Sunday for guarantees and shipping guarantees question here. Right. Question number 4. Institute cargo clause A in a marine insurance policy covers all risk or loss or damage to the subject matter insured except certain exclusion clauses specified therein. Terminates on expiry of a certain number of days after completion of discharge from the ocean vessel at the port of discharge. Which of the following is the number of days specified? Is a little bit of practical question. Actually, within 2 months, you have to lodge the claim. So the appropriate answer will be 60 days in here. Right. In terms of Article 9B, you are at 25. Right. I need to do a small explanation in there, of course. Right. You remember issue bank and the beneficiary, we take these two guys. And the issue bank has the LC. We are an advising bank. To beneficiary. So we'll We'll say that the issue bank is in Sri Lanka, applicant is in Sri Lanka, his benefit is in Japan. And the LC will issued in say US dollars, in US dollars. We say $10,000. Now the beneficiary will collate the documents and give the documents to his banker and request the bank to negotiate. Now the LC is in dollars. LC is in dollars. So this bank will negotiate, meaning they will pay out of their own pocket the Japanese by the Japanese beneficiary for the value of the documents, converting into Japanese yen. So $10,000 be converted, right? So now then after that they will send the documents across. Send the documents across to the issuing bank. The issuing bank sees whether the documents are compliant. I told you that the issuing bank has to reimburse, but I didn't tell you how they are reimbursing. Now, for them to reimburse the negotiating bank, which is in Japan, it's difficult for them to reimburse in Japan because the dollars could be reimbursed only in New York or in USA, right? Especially in New York. So what the issue bank will do is, at the time of opening the letter of credit, MT700, dated, we'll say, will you 20th September. At the time that they date the issue the letter of credit, they have to send us another reimbursement authorization. Reimbursement authorization. Reimbursement authorization, the format of that is MT 740. That's a SWIFT format. 740. To a reimbursing bank. That reimbursing bank is in where? Domiciled in US. So we'll say Deutsche Bank, Americas. So this Deutsche Bank, America, that's the reimbursing bank now. This is the reimbursing bank. Right? So details of this will be given in the letter of credit 2700 format also as well. So negotiating bank is aware from where that they should claim the reimbursement. So when they send the documents across or before doing that, they can claim reimbursement if we request to do so from Deutsche Bank Americas, not from the ship bank statement. Right? So the reimbursement authorization will be given to the Deutsche Bank America, that is reimbursing bank, domicile in New York, and say you pay. If there's a claim, they will not know who will claim. If there's a claim under this LC, so LC reference number is given, LC number is given 1, 2, 3. Under this LC, if there's a claim not exceeding, they will put the amount also. $10,000 you honor. So we don't write that 740 itself is a reimbursement authorization. So that particular reimbursement authorization will kept as an open document at the reimbursing bank. Right? And this reimbursing authorization will not have an expiry date. The negotiating bank can claim at their will at any time. So reimbursing bank or the issuing bank cannot tell, no, this claim is very stale, therefore we can't honor. Reimbursing bank will not have an expiry date, right? Understood? Right. So having said that, what the reimbursing bank should have? The reimbursing authorization should inform them the letter of credit number, the amount, if there's any tolerance that has to be there, and which bank that claiming. If they do not know, then they can say any bank in Japan. Any bank in Japan, right? And so those are things that they will incorporate in the letter of credit, in the reimbursing authorization. Right? Reimbursing authorization. But will not carry an expiry date. Right? Now, so for that, this the guide of the reimbursement authorization, check it down. Guide of the reimbursement authorization will govern by uniform rules for reimbursement. By uniform rules for reimbursement, uniform rules for reimbursement, that is abbreviated as URR. I see publication number 725. URR 725. So you need not learn in detail, but there had been reasons, what you call instances, where based on URR 725, one or two questions been put. Right. So the reimbursement authorization will not carry expiry date, but there's an exception that you need to do both ways also. That's an exception. If the reimbursing bank has taken an undertaking, revocable undertaking with the beneficiary, that they will reimburse, when there's a claim, then that undertaking should have an expiry date. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, the reimbursing bank will not have a, what you call the reimbursing bank will not give an expiry date in the authorization. Right. So, question number 5. In terms of Article 9B of URR 2725, which is Uniform Rules for Bank-to-Bank Reimbursements, under documentary credit, which of the following is not a must to be stated in a request by an issuing bank to the reimbursing bank to issue a reimbursement undertaking, right? Is expiry date. Right. Question number 7, still in the MCQ. Question 7. State the definition of confirmation as stated in Article 2. Definition of definition as Article 2, confirmation, right? So, you know what a confirmation is, right? Confirmation means where the bank, other than the issuing bank, has taken irrevocable undertaking on the issuing bank risks. That's what we call a confirmation, right? Right? So the Article 2 says, confirmation means the definite undertaking of the confirming bank in addition to the issue bank to to honor or negotiate a compliant presentation. So that means if the issuing bank says that they are unable to pay, then the confirming bank has to pay. And that payment, you remember, they have to either negotiate or honor. So that negotiation will be without recourse. Of course, the documents have to be compliant, provided the documents are compliant, right? Right. So refer the article 2, that you will get a good idea on that. Next one, state the seller's obligation under CPT Incoterms 2010 for contract of insurance. State the seller's obligation under CPT Incoterms 2010 for contract of insurance. So what's the seller's obligation under CPT? No obligation. No obligation. I told you there are only two Incoterms warrants the seller to have the insurance policy or the certificate of insurance cover on behalf of the buyer. That is only in the CIP and CIF. That is why the letter I is there. But when you say CPT, carriage paid to, seller is not ought to cover the insurance. Right. Briefly described went by premium and discount in relation to the forward exchange contract that I have told already. What a premium and discount is. The premium, when there are two currencies, and when there are two currencies like this. We take LK and US dollars. So we take two currencies, LK and USD. We'll have 1 rupee and we'll have $1 here. We'll make a placement in a bank for 12 months, say, for 1 year period. And the bank will pay for the deposit, say 10% per annum. It's slightly lower than this now. What, 5 or 6% will banks pay now. And if the US dollar for 12 months on the same bank, on the same scenario, say that they are paying only 1% per annum for dollars, then you say US dollar is at a higher premium than LKR. US dollar is at a higher premium than LKR. Or you can say LKR is at a higher discount than USD. That's the good way of explaining what premium and discount is. Premium and discount. Right? So when there are two currencies for the same denomination, make a placement for the same period on the same scenario. And if one currency yields a higher interest rate such over the other currency, then the currency that yielded high interest rate is supposed to have a higher discount than the currency yielded the lesser currency. The currency has a higher interest rate over the other currency, which has a lesser interest rate, tend to have a higher discount than the other currency. Vice versa is the premium. The interest rate is the lesser over the other currency, has the higher premium than the other unit of currency. Right. Question number 4. Question number 4. Right. Subarticle 70 of UCP 600 stated, provided that the stipulated documents are presented to the nominated bank or to the issuing bank, and they constitute a complaint presentation, the issuing bank must honor and give 5 situations based on the ways in which the credit available as sub-article 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. State the 5 situations stipulated in these sub-articles under which the issuing bank is bound to honor. That is your question, right? So you can take it down. If you're fast to take it down, you can take it down. Issuing bank must honor. Issuing bank must honor. Issuing bank must honor if the credit is available by. If the credit is available by, put a semicolon. By semicolon, Roman 1. There are 5 situations now, Roman 1. Side payment, comma, deferred payment or acceptance with the issuing bank. Side payment, comma, deferred payment or acceptance with the issuing bank. 2, that is Roman 2. Side payment with the nominal bank and that nominal bank does not pay. Side payment with the nominal bank and that nominal bank does not pay. 3. Deferred payment with a nominated bank. Deferred payment with a nominated bank and that nominated bank does not incur and that nominated bank does not incur, INCUR, incur its deferred payment undertaking, or having incurred its undertaking, does not pay at maturity. Having incurred its undertaking means the deferred payment undertaking, right? Having incurred its deferred payment undertaking, comma, does not pay at maturity. Then the fourth one, acceptance with a nominal bank and that nominal bank does not accept a draft, drawn on it, or having accepted the draft on it. Having accepted the draft drawn on it. Having accepted draft drawn on it. Does not pay at maturity. What is the fifth one? Negotiation with the nominal bank. And that nominal bank does not negotiate. And that nominal bank does not negotiate. So those are the liabilities of issuing bank. That's the doctrine of issuing bank, actually. You should know it by heart, right? To test that only that they have put that question. It's a tough question, I admit the fact. So they say sub-article 7C of UCP 600 deals with the issuing banks undertaking to reimburse. What does this sub-article state with regard to the reimbursement? That is the number 7C. The earlier one state the 5 situations stipulated sub-articles under which the issuing bank is bound to honor. So there are 5 things. 5 things only I have stated, right? Then the 7C of UCP deals with the issuing banks undertaking to reimburse. 7C, right? Right. So you say 7C of USB 600 deals with the issuing banks undertaking to reimburse. What does the sub-article state with regard to reimbursement? Right. So you say an issuing bank undertakes to reimburse a nominated bank has honored or negotiated a complying presentation which was forwarded to the issuing bank. Right. Question number 3. Subarticle 10B of USB 600 deals with the binding of an amendment 10B. Okay. What does it state regarding an issuing bank and a confirming bank? Right. Now, 10B article I will read out from the text. This is what it says. An issuing bank is irrevocably bound by an amendment as of the time it issues the amendment. A confirming bank may extend its confirmation to an amendment and it will be irrevocably bound as of the time it advises the amendment. A confirming bank may, however, choose to advise an amendment without extending its confirmation, and if so, it must inform the issuing bank without delay and inform basically in its advice. We have to explain a little bit that part, of course. Right. Now see, LC have been issued to the beneficiary. This particular LC been added confirmation by another big bank. That's called the confirming bank. Right? So confirming bank, what you call liabilities comes under Article 8. You can have a look at it. Issuing bank liabilities comes under Article 7. In the confirming bank liabilities comes under Article 8. So this particular LC been added confirmation to the beneficiary. So beneficiary has double guarantee now. If the applicant doesn't pay even, beneficiary will not care that much because the issuing bank will pay provided the compliant documents are present. And if in case the issuing bank is unable to pay, confirming bank will shoulder that, of course. They will honor negotiate, and for that negotiation, they will negotiate without recourse. Right. So this is the LC. So if there's an amendment means you are making a modification of the LC subsequent to the establishment of the LC. So on a subsequent date after establishing the LC at the request of the applicant, if the issuing bank sends an amendment, usually you number the amendments 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. So if you have amended 1 time, twice, or 3 times, or whatever it is, then the what you call this issuing bank cannot send the amendment bypassing the confirming bank. The same manner the LC was routed through to the beneficiary, the amendment also has to go through. Now this is the amendment. Right? But when the confirming bank added the confirmation to the original LC, they are not bound to add the confirmation to the amendment. But in most of the cases, when the LCs is confirmed, amendments also will get confirmed by the what you call by the confirming bank. Confirm in the sense if the amendment is value related, if it's a value enhancement, right? You don't get confirmation will get added. But that doesn't mean the confirming bank is bound to do that. They have already added the confirmation for the LC. For the amendment 1, they have added. Amendment 2, they can opt not to add the confirmation, even though it's a very weak. If that's the case, they have to inform the issuing bank and the beneficiary that they have not added their confirmation. That's what the Article 10B says. Right? So you have listened properly. So I will not dictate. Read the Article 10B, and with the expression that I gave, you should be able to fine tune the answer in point form. Right? Right. Question number 4 and question number 4, Roman 4. Article 2 of UCP 600 defines the terms honor and negotiation. Briefly describe what is meant by these two terms stated therein. So I have told you all what is honor means and what is negotiation means. So read the Article 2 and try to brief the answer for that. So honor means what? To pay at sight if the credit available by negotiation. To incur a deferred payment, undertaking, and pay at maturity. Right? If the credit available by deferred payment. And if the credit available by acceptance, you accept the bill of exchange drawn on by the beneficiary, drawn by the beneficiary, and pay at maturity. So that's what you call honor. Right? That's what you call honor. Negotiation means there's another description given there under negotiation. Please do what you call read it and try to concise the answer as requested in here. Now remember one more thing. See, if you take the question number 4, the people who have the question paper will have a side benefit. There are 4 questions in there. So the marks allocation not be given. I hope that at least the future papers they will give the how they will allocate the marks. Say out of 20. Now there is 4 equal marks means, so that will be what you call 5 marks each. So to get 5 marks, try to write 5 points at least. Right? If you don't have 5 points, they will give multiple marks. Right? So for a small description, you get 2 points. 2 points, then you will get 2 each. Then 4 marks. So likewise, try to learn how to, depending on the allocation of marks, put the points that you need to put in. Right. Then to tackle the question number 5, of course, we will not have time, but I will do the question number 5 next. That is a revolving facility. That will be a good brush up for you all. And I will do the question number 6 of the forex question. And if anybody has forgotten the mechanism of forex, we will do it. But then I will not go to the fundamentals again unless otherwise you specifically request for me to do so. Right. So next Sunday I will meet you and see whether you can get those question papers that I have past papers that I have told you. That is March 18 and September 18 and September 19. March 18, September 18 and September 19 papers. Right. I'll see you on next Sunday then.